has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom.
This morning, I woke up, I was looking through my messages, and I saw Nana Akufo-Addo was asking me why I was refusing, asking me why I'm refusing to debate Bawumia. You know, Bawumia doesn't deserve a debate. He is losing this election. I will not elevate him to my level and go and sit and debate him. Their campaign is failing. They have no message. And so he wants to be elevated to my level. No, 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 no. I know my level. You see, in 2012, I was sworn in as president, and I went into that election as the sitting president. They called for a debate. I made myself available. I debated Nana Akufo-Addo. In 2016, I was the sitting president. IEA organized the debate. I made myself available. Nana Akufo-Addo refused to take part in the debate. In 2020, he was the sitting president. He refused to take part in a debate. But the one who responded to me when we made the call for the debate is the current flag bearer of the NPP, who is asking me for a debate. Has he forgotten what he said? That I should go to Sangma and go and debate the farmers of Sangma who don't have fertilizer. That I should go to Abosokai and go and debate the spare parts people who cannot buy dollar because dollar is 3 point something to 3 cedis point something to the dollar. He said I should go and debate the taxi drivers and the drivers who cannot buy petrol. This is the same Bawumia today asking me for a debate. As for him, the people he will debate are many. He should debate the nurses who are sitting at home who have not been posted. He should go and debate the teachers who are home who have not been posted and debate them about their licensure exams. He should go and debate the fishermen who cannot get premix and they have to go and buy premix from hairdressing salons. He should go and debate the unemployed youth who have finished school 4 years ago and to date cannot find work. Has he forgotten? That is what he told me. So today, why do you want to debate me? All the people you said I should go and debate, their situation is worse now than it was in 2016. So you go and debate them, and tell them why you have mismanaged this economy in 8 years, why their situation is worse, even though you promised that you were the economic wizard and that you were coming to change the economy of this country. Go and explain and apologize to the people of Ghana. The election is about the economy, it's about our financial situation, it is about the crisis we face, it is about the debt we face. Recently, I saw the Minister of Finance said they have successfully entered back onto the international capital market. That was a lie. What has happened is we now have finished the debt restructuring and we're expected to start paying the restructured debt. And you can already see, as soon as the transition took place, the CD began to lose ground. During the negotiation of the debt restructuring, Ghana was giving a moratorium from paying debt. So even as our CD was moving from 14 to 15 to 16 to 17, we were not servicing any debt. And so even in a situation where we are not servicing debt, the CD continues to lose value to the dollar and other international currencies. That is the situation in which MPP has plunged this country. And that is why they must go into opposition. That is why the elephant must go into the bush, so that NDC can come back and repair the mess that they have created. 8 years, you inherited a very promising economy. 2 new oil wells, additional oil production of 100,000 barrels a day. You inherited all the funds, stabilization fund, sinking fund, Ghana infrastructure fund, energy sector levy, all those things you inherited. And all you needed to do was to build on what the NDC had done to create a better life for Ghanaians. But no, that was not your intention. Your intention was to plunder this country and take the opportunities of the country for only a few family and friends. When you are voting, don't thumbprint like this. Don't thumbprint like this. Thumbprint sideways. Yeah? Put the ballot paper on the table, put your thumb on the ink, and turn your thumb sideways, not like this. Because if you do it long, it can cross the line into this one or into this one. But if you do it sideways, it will just fit properly into the box. Then when you thumbprint, take the tissue that is on the table and clean your thumb very well. Clean your thumb very well until it's dry. Before you touch the ballot paper again. If you don't do that, you don't clean your thumb. After you thumbprint, if you try to touch the ballot paper again, you go and do another thumbprint somewhere. And once they see 2 thumbprints, your vote is a rejected vote, rejected ballot. Okay? So do it properly. Just look for the Akatawia. You don't even need to look for my picture. Just look for the Akatawia. And then when you see it, put your thumbprint there. On the parliamentary ballot, Dr. Jessel is the second one. But like I said, don't look for number 2. Just look for the umbrella. And then you do the same thing. You put your thumbprint, you clean your thumb nicely, and after you clean your thumb, you hold the ballot paper, and then don't fold it vertically. Don't fold it horizontally, fold it vertically. It means the ballot paper is long, like this. Yeah? Don't fold it like this. After you thumbprint, fold it like this. Okay? Lengthwise, not breadthwise. You fold it lengthwise. Because if you've thumbprinted here and the ink is not dry, when you fold it, it will touch the same NDC side. But if you fold it like this and the ink is not dry, when you fold it like this, it will go and touch another place. And once they see that, they'll say your ballot is a rejected ballot. We're largely Muslim in this community, so let me pick a verse from the Quran. And it says in Quran chapter 2, verse 216, that sometimes we might hate something, but it is good for us. And sometimes we might love something, but it is bad for us. In 2016, Ghanaians were made to hate NDC, mostly because of lies. A lot of concoctions were made against us. I was the target of most of them. I bought a hotel in Dubai. I've stolen money from Ghana. I've made guinea fowls fly to Burkina Faso. I mean, what lie did they tell against me? DKM belongs to me and Lodina. I mean, endless lies. Our government was incompetent, and so it made Ghanaians hate NDC. But, as the Quran says, maybe NDC was good for us. And so we fell in love with those who were telling lies. But as the Quran says, maybe those we fell in love with were bad for us. Today we all see the consequence. Today all of us are feeling it, that what we loved has turned out negatively for us. But in English too, we say experience is the best teacher. The Akans, Tree-speaking people, they say efutuo wohoi and sakra nipa ajise nsore. It means that advice can never change a person unless the person goes through the experience. And so we have all gone through the experience for 8 years. Happily, because we have a constitution and we are running a democratic government, we have the opportunity to make a change. 8 years, everything has gone bad in this country. All the sweet promises that were made have not come to pass. One district, one factory. One village, one dam. $1 million per constituency per year. Yet Isikaso Ekomde. I worked in Bank of Ghana. The money is there. We can develop this country without borrowing. It all turned out to be lies. Lies. And so we have the opportunity to make a change. And the 8 years experience we've gone through has affected every single aspect of life. We want to upgrade all health centers to polyclinic status and add the infrastructure that makes them worthy of being called polyclinics. We are not the kind of people that will just come and rename a health facility and say from tomorrow, this your health center is now called a polyclinic. We don't do that. We would put the infrastructure there to justify that it has risen from a health center into a polyclinic. Because health is wealth. And health is one of the most primary things that a government has to give its people. And that is why we're going to introduce the free primary health care system. This system is going to operate in the following way. From CHIPS compounds, which is our lower health providing facility, from CHIPS compounds to clinics, from clinics to health centers to polyclinics, if you attend any of these facilities, you don't need a health insurance card. You don't pay a premium. You go free of charge. So you only need a health insurance card when you go from the secondary level of the health structure. And so that's the district hospitals, the regional hospitals, and the teaching hospitals. And so that is our intention. And we're going to do it so that our people have access to primary health care. You will have the basic drugs at your CHIPS compound. We would have volunteers who we will pay a stipend. They are called community health volunteers. We will pay them a stipend And they are responsible periodically from going to household, and they will test you for basic illnesses. I've heard your request. I know that the district is a very big district, and the Sisala South area is quite remote from the district capital at Tumu. We have done a population census, and the next government that is coming will have the opportunity to redemarcate the districts and the constituencies. So what you must do is, all the chiefs in the Sisala South area, you have to write a petition. And the petition should go addressed to the president, but through the Minister of Local Government. So that when the time comes and the redemarcation is being done, we can redemarcate and create the Sisala South District so that we can bring development closer to your doorsteps. There are 13 people who were qualified to be on the ballot paper. Unfortunately, our brothers in the PNC were wrongfully disqualified. I do not understand how come the PNC were not allowed to be on this ballot paper. The PNC is a more worthy party than several parties that I see here on the ballot paper. But that's the issue we have with the Electoral Commission. Sometimes they are discriminatory, because there are some people on this ballot paper who Bernard Mona qualifies more to be here than those people. And I know it will provoke controversy, but I mean it. And so we are here, NDC, running mate Mahmoud Baumia, when he was running mate to Akufo-Addo, he used to come and roam in Upper West here and look for schools where there was no furniture and see children sitting on stones. And he would take pictures and go and say, I visited this school and they didn't have furniture. NDC has failed to give him furniture. Today, 1.3 million basic school children have no furniture. During the NDC time, he will visit and he will donate furniture to the school. Today, 1.3 million basic school children in Ghana have no furniture. And yet, he is in charge of the budget today. He doesn't even need to use his own pocket money to donate that furniture. He can take it from the budget and buy furniture for those children. Why is he not doing so? I challenge him to visit the schools in Upper West that do not have furniture, and he should provide them with furniture like he was doing when he was in opposition. This morning, I woke up, I was looking through my messages, and I saw Nana Akufo-Addo was asking me why I'm refusing to debate Baumia. You know, Baumia doesn't deserve a debate. He is losing this election. I will not elevate him to my level and go and sit and debate him. Their campaign is failing. They have no message. And so he wants to be elevated to my level. No, 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 no. I know my level. You see, in 2012, I was sworn in as president, and I went into that election as the sitting president. They called for a debate. I made myself available. I debated Nana Akufo-Addo. In 2016, I was the sitting president. IEA organized the debate. I made myself available. Nana Akufo-Addo refused to take part in the debate. In 2020, he was the sitting president. He refused to take part in a debate. But the one who responded to me when we made the call for the debate is the current flag bearer of the NPP, who is asking me for a debate. Has he forgotten what he said? That I should go to Sangma and go and debate the farmers of Sangma who don't have fertilizer. That I should go to Abosokai and go and debate the spare parts people who cannot buy dollar because dollar is 3 point something to 3 cedis point something to the dollar. He said I should go and debate the taxi drivers and the drivers who cannot buy petrol. This is the same Baumia today asking me for a debate. As for him, the people he will debate are many. He should debate the nurses who are sitting at home who have not been posted. He should go and debate the teachers who are home who have not been posted and debate them about their licensure exams. He should go and debate the fishermen who cannot get premix and they have to go and buy premix from hairdressing salons. He should go and debate the unemployed youth who have finished school 4 years ago and to date cannot find work.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer.
Good morning to you, and this is Pan-African Television. We are live from the Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah studios, and of course, we are live on TV, Pan-African Television, if you can't watch us live. And of course, we are also live on Facebook, Pan-African Television. We are also live on YouTube, Pan-African Television. Just look for those pages and watch us live. If you're watching us on social media, do share your thoughts, make a comment on the issues we'll be discussing this morning, and I'll read it out as we go along the show. I am Sena Nombo, and of course, once again, welcome. We are live on radio, on Radio Gold 90.5 FM, your power station. The matter had been raised by the minority, the then minority in Parliament, the NDC caucus, through their leader. Honorable Harun Iddrisu actually gave a hint on a platform where we were last Saturday. Last Saturday, we were in Tamale, When Tamale, we did Alhaji and Alhaji, after which was followed up by the campaign launch of the campaign of Honorable Alhassan Suhuyini. Now, at that campaign launch, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, who is former minority leader and also member of parliament for Tamale South, indicated that they were going to raise the issue of four MPs, including one NDC MP, Yao Kwachiaka, who had virtually, can be said to have crossed carpet, and so they needed to vacate their seat. One of the MPs actually is one MP who was thrown out of parliament. His seat was declared vacant in 2020 by Speaker Professor Michael Kwe on the request of the New Patriotic Party. This time around, that MP is also part of the four MPs. So second time, he's been asked to vacate his seat. The first time was because he went independent. This time around, he's an independent MP on the ticket of the New Patriotic Party. That's it, Dandu Sesiama, who is second deputy speaker. So Parliament will not have a second deputy speaker. Well, there are also other MPs, Cynthia Mamle Morrison, member of Parliament for Suhum, who are also all in that bracket. The declaration of the speaker essentially meant the minority becomes majority, the majority becomes minority. So the MPP would leave government as a minority party in Parliament. Well, the majority leader, Honorable Afanyo Mackenzie, had indicated over and over again that he has filed a motion in the Supreme Court. Well, this did not deter the speaker. But what happened yesterday took everybody clearly by surprise. The Supreme Court is seeking to stay the execution of that ruling of the speaker, which essentially will make the minority majority, the majority the minority, and is telling the speaker to accord the MPs in question the courtesies of members of parliament. We'll be discussing that in our very first topic. Then we'll move on to the Electoral Commission's preparedness for the December elections. There are ballot printing plans, and of course there are two persons who were disqualified from being on the presidential ballot who are currently before the court. One of them is Bernard Mona of the People's National Convention. They were in court, a decision will be made next week. So question is, what would the Electoral Commission do? The Electoral Commission has also gone ahead to disqualify the NDC parliamentary candidate for Amenfi Central. The NDC responded by dragging the EC to court. So we'll be talking about the preparations to the elections. And then we'll move on to the Fitch and Moody's upgrade of our debts. So our borrowing, the bonds we've issued on the local and the foreign market, Fitch has upgraded, giving them a positive outlook in the wake of the fact that we have an agreement on the table with the Eurobond holders, and then we have an agreement, of course, with the domestic debt under the debt restructuring program. So their response is to say maybe there's something good, positive will come out of this. Well, so those are the issues we'll be talking about this morning. And joining me for this discussion this morning, already I have in studio Professor Kwesa White. Professor Michael Kwesa White is a leading member of the National Democratic Congress, but an academic who lectures at the University of Ghana. Prof, good morning, and nice to see you.
Good morning, and good morning to your wonderful viewers, and good to see you too.
Comrade Najib Yahya is a member of the Accra Collective of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. Good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, and I'll come back to you shortly. But let me also say we'll be joined by Kojo Chumbuafo, who is a former chief executive of Ghana Free Zones, what used to be board, now authority. And then we'll also be joined by Dr. David Percy, who's a student of history and politics. Well, like I said, I was going to come to Najib because this morning, originally I had been told that you were going to run a bit late because you were going to be part of the Stop the War in Gaza protest, but it looks like that has been put on hold.
Yes, actually, Stop the War in Gaza is a demonstration we have staged, I think 1, 2, 3 times.
Yes, a couple of times.
As a movement. And this time around, it wasn't the socialist movement that was going to organize that, or we were not the lead people in organizing it. But the Ga Adambe youth in Accra, I think one of their branches in Ododo Dio was organizing that. So we tagged along because, you know, in solidarity of what is happening. But unfortunately, it looks like the police did not give the clearance.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, it was organized last week. But they said they hadn't been given enough, enough notice to mobilize themselves. And, you know, this week the excuse is that it looks like there's some program going on and they need to shift it again. Clearly, you can see somebody's trying to frustrate efforts here. But whatever it is, we are not the organizers, and we'll leave that for the organizing team to you know, battle it out with the police. Senna, you can clearly see what is going on in Palestine today, where children, women are being killed, you know, indiscriminately. The war is extending into Lebanon, and we don't know what this thing will escalate into. So there's a need for everybody to come out, raise our voices, and call for calm, call for peace. There must be an unconditional stop to this war, so that, you know, the world can continue in a better way to function as it were. So that is our international commitment and solidarity to the working people of Palestine who are being murdered. Today, it's even, UN workers are being killed, reporters like yourself, I mean, media people are being killed, and it's terrible. So we call on everybody, every organization, every institution to up their voice as far as this matter is concerned. Now, on the issue of...
I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you. Just that when we raised that issue, I was going to take Prof's brief view on that. I'm sure, Prof, you're following what is happening in Gaza. Of course, even the United States now is of the opinion that there's a need to put an end to the war urgently because of the escalation. What do you make of it?
Yes, I have been following, and I must say that what is happening in Gaza, to be honest with you, is no longer war. It's ethnic cleansing, genocide and ethnic cleansing. And the reason I said so is because in a war situation, you can see that both parties are actively wielding presumably equal amount of power or weapons, and are actually engaged fiercely in certain violent contestation. What we are seeing is one party basically exterminating not just even individuals who are presuming to be fighting them, but a whole ethnic group, a whole race, a whole, community. And some of the things we see on the television screens are heart-rending. Children in hospitals are being bombed in hospitals. Women, pregnant women giving birth, in maternity wards, are receiving bombs and dying with their kids in their womb. And hospitals are being destroyed, schools are being destroyed, road infrastructure destroyed, power, electricity installations are being destroyed. This should never happen in the 21st century. No group of people in the world that is presumably or is presumed to be civilized should be allowed to visit this kind of inhumanity on another group of human beings. And I think that it is a major scar on our collective, conscience as human beings, both as Africans, and I say as Africans because I haven't really seen any kind of strong support from the African collective, that is the African Union, or even individual African governments as far as this particular issue is concerned. I would have expected that as a group of people who have gone through the atrociousness of slave trade and slavery and colonialism, we would have been minded enough to see what is happening to another group of human beings somewhere else in the world. And even if we don't have what it takes in terms of diplomatic maneuvering or modern weaponry of war to engage in that particular exercise, we should be loud enough in speaking against it. And I think our government should be the one mobilizing our citizens onto the streets to make a strong appeal to the most powerful countries, particularly those in Europe and America, by way of making sure that we have our people demonstrate at their embassies to show our displeasure to what is happening. Look, injustice to any group of people anywhere is a threat to justice to every group of people everywhere. And we may be sitting here thinking that, well, Palestine is so far away, we are concerned about our butter and bread, maybe kinky and fish and pepper. But there is a way in which sometimes these things reach you indirectly. Are we not being told by our own government that a war in Ukraine is the reason why our economy is in tatters? if that is something to go by, I mean, even assuming without believing that what they are saying is true, if that is the case, then we should be seriously concerned about. And I think that I must say that I am quite disappointed even in our Ghanaian media, because I don't think that Ghanaian media is focusing on what is happening in Palestine as much as it should. Many of us who follow it are following it because we either subscribe to international news media. I mean, me, because I teach political science and public policy and governance-related policies, and to the extent that I would like to draw on international examples, I tend to follow these things more widely. But I think that the larger Ghanaian public, irrespective of where they are, I mean, the television stations that are viewed by the majority of people should actually take just 10-15 minutes to put these things on air and show Ghanaians, and by extension Africans, because of DSTV, many of your channels are in several countries now, what is happening. And so too should we see it from what other countries are showing us also. The lack of this gets me worried that it looks like, one, collective consciousness has been lost on us completely as Africans. That collective consciousness was what drove Kwame Nkrumah, Julius Nyerere, Kenneth Kaunda, and so on and so forth, and their contemporaries to fight the way they fought. In fact, given the advantage we have now, if the Kwame Nkrumahs and Nyereres and the Mugabes and Kenneth Kaundas and others were living, they would have completely liberated Africa and also actually decolonized Africa. Because they didn't have the transport system that we had, right? They had to go by some, I mean, very ancient means of moving around. Telephone was, I mean, a difficult situation at the time, but they were able to communicate and commit themselves to the struggle, and eventually got us at least independence. And we have lost the plot. I think that what has been happening in Palestine should be something that should not be lost on Africa in whatever form. And we must not leave this to the group that is organizing this, that is the Ghanaian youth, as you spoke about earlier on, or just a section of the Ghanaian society. We must actively all be involved in mobilizing to ensure that we bring some normalcy and normality to Palestine, and let people who live there also have at least a small feeling that they have a tomorrow.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, well, if you just... Okay.
So just to add to what Prof has said, I mean, he talked about the fact that the African Union has been very disappointing as far as this matter is concerned. That's true. But I'd like to commend the South African government. I'm sure Prof will remember that. That the South African government is very active as far as this matter is concerned. They've dragged Israel and how do you call it, to the International Criminal Court.
That's right.
And have succeeded at least in getting Netanyahu to be on a wanted list. Yeah. South Africa is vigorously fighting this fight because they, just like the Palestinians, have suffered.
Their experience is very fresh, and I think they need the support of all of us.
Exactly. Yeah. So yes, I think what Prof is saying is in the right direction, that all African states should come out, strengthen our voice as far as the Palestine issue is concerned. Yeah.
Thank you. Of course, if you're just joining us, the matter of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. Let's move on. So Najib will start the conversation for me on what transpired in Parliament, now taken to court. We'll go back to Parliament on Tuesday. We'll see what the Speaker will do. Najib, what do you think? Let's listen to you.
Well, said that this is an issue I'd like to comment very little on because of the state in which we are now. As, you know, we have a state that is now an organ of oppression, you know, activating very actively all the instruments of violence against its own people at all times. So I'm very careful because the case is still pending in the Supreme Court. I mean, and but quite clearly, I don't even understand running to the court for interpretation of some of these things, because Parliament by itself has set the precedence. We've seen the previous, what do you call it, Speaker set the precedence as far as this matter is concerned. I do not see anything significantly different from what Professor Michael Kay did with what happened 3 or 4 days ago in Parliament. What is the issue? The bone of contention is simple. Some people came to Parliament on the back of certain political parties. They voted for them. And the Constitution is clear, in black and white, that once you jump ships, you cease to owe allegiance to the party that brought you to Parliament. Hence, you must vacate the seat so that, you know, proceedings can continue. Obviously, the new minority, as I like to call them, agreed to their position as the new minority, first of all by walking out, because it is, in most cases, it is a minority that walks out rather than sit and fight. You understand? When you realize clearly that you are in the minority, you run away from the fight, you chicken out, and that's exactly what they did. But where did they go to? They went somewhere that they could seek solace. A Supreme Court that today is seen so much in the eyes of the public as a very political weapon, a very political instrument, you know, that has allowed itself in various ways to be, you know, subjugated to some control by the executive arm. So they went there seeking interpretation. That is fine, it is understandable. But like I'm saying, Ghanaians know, it is very clear in our constitution that once you jump ship, what ought to be done is exactly what was done. Now we are being told that, what's the name? Bagbin, or the right honorable Bagbin, should have waited to be informed in writing before taking the decision. Meanwhile, their own constitution, the NPP's constitution, which stipulates clearly that once you are seen actively campaigning against their position, once a candidate is seen behaving in any way that will subvert the interest of the party, you automatically forfeit rights to be called a member of that party. So I'm sure it is based on that. And I mean, it had become clear from the polls that was announced that these people were going to contest as independent candidates away from their political party. So I don't see anyhow, I don't see why the qualms about this. I do not see why they need to take the actions that they took. It's even worse when the Supreme Court decide to come in and exercise supremacy over the legislature. In my little government I've done, at least I do understand that there's separation of powers. Now the decision has been taken by one arm of government. We have another arm of government saying that, stretching its long arm into that chamber and have taken a decision. Fine, we have seen that. What I wait to see is how the decision of the Supreme Court is going to be enforced in the Chamber of Parliament. I don't know how that is going to happen, but we all wait to see how that is going to play out. Like I'm saying, I'm going to be, this is a very simple, straightforward matter that one needs not to comment much. And because we are still in the process, let's wait and see what happens next week. Then, you know, we can all come back to the table and have our bite on it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I will jump right to Prof. To seek his thoughts on the issue.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that because it affects the Supreme Court, I have to be overly cautious, isn't it? Because I have been a victim of the Supreme Court's, let me say, invitation for contempt, which under very, what I consider to be very bizarre circumstances. I think what is happening in the country currently is sad for many reasons. Look, there are many very, very fine judges in the Supreme Court, undoubtedly. Just like other Ghanaians, there are very decent individuals there who want the best for Ghana. And sometimes when we speak about the Supreme Court in a collective term or in generality, it saddens my heart that those individuals also tend to receive the slur or the negativities that come across. And so part of what we should be doing when we discuss these things, and perhaps that will help the message gets to the people, the erring ones in the Supreme Court, is that we should probably start isolating them and scrutinizing them one after the other based on their decisions. Unfortunately, they seem to have been very smart in not presenting us individual judgments, but basically coming as unanimous at all times. And I haven't also seen in a long time any of those I consider to be very, very decent ones who care about Ghana. Not about NDC or NPP, but about Ghana. I haven't seen in a long time any of them being empaneled on some of the recent very interesting cases, which clearly also raises questions about What is the calculation, the mechanisms for empanelling? Who checks the empanelling? I mean, is it right, given where we are now, is it right to basically leave empanelling of justices on cases solely in the hands of Chief Justice who is appointed by, let's say, the President, especially if there is a case in which the President has an interest? Ideally, in a democracy, once you are appointed, you are fortified by the rules under which you operate. So there should be no reason why you should, ponder to the whims and caprices of the person who appointed you. But as political scientists, both in Africa and elsewhere, have said over and over again, Africa's democracy, and to that extent, Ghana's democracy, appears to suffer from patron-client relationship. There are people who have been appointed and feel that because somebody appointed them, they will have to be beholden to that individual. And to be beholden to that individual is to, ponder to them, make things to please them, forgetting that your tenure may even extend beyond, that president's tenure. But let me just, for the sake of clarity, let me just make a few points on the question of separation of powers, because this is something that is at the heart of separation of powers. Now, there are three arms of government. There is the legislature, which makes the laws, approves budgets, and also conducts oversight over the actions and inactions of the executive, right? Then there is the executive that enforces the laws, that also appoints officials and commands the arms of security, the armed forces, the police, and so on and so forth. Then there is the judiciary that interprets the law and provides checks and balances and resolves conflicts to make sure that, things work properly. And there are checks and balances between all this. If you look at our constitution, I don't pretend to talk as a lawyer. By the way, lawyers are not the only ones, close to talk about the constitution. It's a political document as much as it's a legal document. If you look at our constitution, it is very clear that the framers recognize the independence of the judiciary, the independence of the executive, and then the independence of the legislature as well. By recognizing these independences, they also put in place mechanisms that allow certain interfaces in the course of the performance of their duties. And we also do know from previous cases that have gone to court in this country that the Supreme Court previously had affirmed that Parliament, is autonomous as far as the activities that go on within its remit are concerned. And so a decision from Parliament with respect to the locus of 4 individuals as far as their membership of their political parties, or whether they remain members of their political parties have crossed carpet is concerned, remains within Parliament until maybe a decision in Parliament is contested in the courts by way of constitutional interpretation, because interpretation then lies in the purview of the judiciary. What we are witnessing is not the same. And for me, as a public policy person, when I heard this thing yesterday, the first question I asked myself was, what problem is the Supreme Court intending to solve? Because your decision must be aimed at solving a particular problem. I don't really see the problem. And the reason I wonder about that is that the speed with which the decision was made, the filing, the empanelling, and then the hearing, and then the verdict and everything, all these things cannot be divorced from the entirety of the decision. They are all part of the remit within which the decision is taken. And the reason that for me is important is that we have SAL, right? SAL has been in court for almost 4 years. A whole community, a whole constituency, so to speak, in our country have not been represented in a parliament for 4 years. And they have been in one court after the other, including the Supreme Court itself. And up to now, they have not still been represented. Now we are getting close to election. And then you have a situation where the Parliament of Ghana, following precedents, its own precedents, had made a decision that affects, the numerical strength of the parties in Parliament. And then one cries quickly, runs to the Supreme Court, and then gets an order that says the Speaker's order should be stayed. See, one of the things that the Supreme Court needs to be minded of is that you must ensure that your decisions are enforceable. Don't make decisions that will make you look ridiculous. That will also make people feel that you are losing your standing or your respect in society. How in God's Ghana is the Supreme Court hoping to enforce the decision in Parliament, for instance? Because within the workings of Parliament, any attempt by anybody, any institution to interfere could also be cited for contempt. I mean, and that includes even the Chief Justice. If you try to interfere, I mean, unduly in the work of Parliament, you could also be incited for contempt. And Parliament is also clothed with the powers to actually exact punitive measures against people who are cited for contempt. What is happening? We are gradually heading to a constitutional gridlock. And I think I have heard quite a number of people spoke yesterday on this matter after it came out. Even people who were vehemently opposed to the decision by the Supreme Court had asked that let us allow, let's calm down tempers, and let's make sure that we see this as a test for the country and find a nice way to overcome it. We must also avoid the possibility of letting egos get in the way of the performance of the institutions. But more importantly, as a political scientist, I kept asking myself, what do we need to do differently to ensure that in the now and the distant future, we don't have these situations occurring? And one of what I think we should do, which used to be the case previously, is that we must take a second look at the legal training that we have currently in the country. It used to be the case where to become a lawyer, you would have had the opportunity to take courses in other disciplines in the social sciences, right? You would have gone into sociology, philosophy, political science, economics, psychology, and all those things. And it was for a good reason. The reason also being that these disciplines actually speak to different dimensions of social life and human life. And so learning about them before building a profession allows you to understand how different things operate. Sometimes I ask myself, when I look at the decisions of the Supreme Court, whether these people understand sociology or understand our society and how societies are expected to operate. I mean, especially also because Poly 101 in political science, matters of separation of powers are quite clear. And the first thing that I expect the Supreme Court to have done in this particular matter was to have referred Apejo Makin and his group to the point that you need to make sure, you need to go back to Parliament. This is matter within Parliament. If you think that the Speaker doesn't have the power to make those decisions, then file the proper applications for constitutional interpretation. But if you just come asking one arm of government to stop another arm of government from performing its duties or from executing its duties, then we are sliding into a situation where if we don't take Taiwan, we may end up with a judicial dictatorship. And when that happens, you know what the potential outcome is. Look, some of the violence and some of the insecurity and some of the recklessness we see in terms of how people resolve their issues in our communities today are largely the result of the fact that people are losing trust and confidence in our judicial system. And when people lose trust and confidence in the judicial system, which is expected to solve conflicts for them, then they are likely to take the laws into their own hands. I am not, approving that, and I am not subscribing to that, but I am just saying that people who occupy the positions of trust or who have been mandated to perform certain functions need to be mindful of, one, the substance of their actions and the perception that emerges from their actions as well, so as to ensure that we hold the society firmly together. Other than that, we may be running into serious trouble. And if you look at the paneling of the individuals who made the decision yesterday, they are people who have been appointed by Nana Addo just, recently, really. And you ask yourself, on what constitutional provision were they standing to actually ask that the Speaker's decision should be stayed? Besides that, you also ask yourself, where did we get this new culture of everybody who sat in the Supreme Court case now agreeing? The beauty of the law is when you have people, even when they agree with different reasons, and all these things are written down and thrown into the public, and we all read and say, oh yes, they all agree though, but look at the different reasons they are all giving. These days, we are just being told that unanimously this, unanimously that. And I think that is not a good example for young people and also for, the growth of our democracy, and particularly the growth of our institutions. And we need, as a society, to help our judicial system reform. If we don't do that, we all stand to lose. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We're just joining us. We're discussing what happened in Parliament, the declaration of 4 seats vacant by the Speaker, and the Supreme Court actually issuing a decision yesterday telling the Speaker, stay the execution of that ruling you've made. Well, let me do a couple of comments before I go to Mr. Kojo Chumbuafo. This is Anefi Adams who says, I want the Speaker to overturn the court ruling and let's test our democracy. That's why there's separation of powers. The Speaker exercised Article 7 of the Constitution, which falls within the Speaker's mandate, and he is the sole moderator of Parliament. And if he send that from Tamale Central, there's Seidu John Paul, who says the Supreme Court couldn't sit on LGBTQ plus to have the President and Akufo-Addo Dankwa assent to the anti-LGBTQ plus bill, but in less than 24 hours are able to sit and rule on Afenyi-Makin's case. Doesn't it ring a bell to Ghanaians that, then Ghanaians stop this form of governance? We must vote out the MPP government and bring the NDC and John Dramani Mahama to salvage us from our democracy. That's Seidu John Paul who sent that. Kabi Rover says Ghana needs judicial reform now. The Constitution should have envisioned leadership like what the MPP is actively inflicting on Ghanaians. This is a government whose sole aim is to amass wealth by any means, including destruction of all structures of governance and the land itself. Musa Batua says the Supreme Court's ruling on the ex-party application concerning the Speaker's decision to declare 4 seats vacant is being questioned for potentially overstepping legal norms. Lawyers argue that the indefinite stay of execution contradicts the standard 10-day limit of ex-party motions and may interfere with parliamentary processes. This raises concerns about the court's interpretation of the Constitution, standing orders, and whether it respects past precedents as well as the separation of powers. That's from Musa Abatwa, and thank you for sharing those comments with us. Engineer.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to everybody. Good morning, Prof. Good morning, Doc. Good morning. It's a misty morning. Many of you don't see no sun. Quoting Bob Marley. Don't see no sun. It's a misty morning. We don't see no sun. Yeah.
You want to quote Bob Marley?
Yeah. A great philosopher. If you follow the words and the lyrics of some of his music, we are living all those problems today. This is a tough one. You see, we live in a country where the judiciary, although unelected, have accorded themselves certain rights of intervention. I don't know whether it's a sense of misplaced responsibility or it's a genuine, call to arms, if I could say that. But our Constitution has made it clear what constitutes separation of powers. In Article 115 of the Constitution, it is very clear that no court, it says in that, no court should obstruct the work of Parliament. So, upon what basis does the Supreme Court seek to injunct a directive of the Speaker of Parliament, when the Speaker of Parliament in the order of hierarchy of government is the number 3 person, the Chief Justice is the number 4 person, and direct the Speaker when the issue at stake is supposed to be an interpretation of the Constitution that they haven't actually interpreted.
They haven't even applied for it.
They haven't interpreted anything. That's the first thing. You see, one of these fine days I'm going to go to law school. Yes, I'm going to go to law school. If they will take me, if they won't keep failing me. Because I suspect if it is me, they know it's me, they will keep failing me. I passed engineering school twice and business school, but they will fail me in law school. I know why. But I feel, look, this is not rocket science. Okay? Nobody should come and bamboozle any of us. It's not rocket science. But Sir White is here, he has a PhD. I don't know whether he's got a Dutch passport as well. At least he has a PhD. Dr. Percy is here, he has a PhD. So at least they can read and understand. Right? I went to engineering school. Everybody knows my classmates, if I might add. I didn't graduate on Sunday. I didn't use my father's certificate to go to school. So I can read and I can understand. That provision of the Constitution is clear, that the work of Parliament cannot be obstructed by any court, and that will include the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is clothed with interpreting the Constitution. There is no question here to interpret. The Speaker acted upon precedents and upon an interpretation of Article 97G. A precedence that was set by the previous Speaker, who happens to be Professor Michael Quay.
And the beneficiary was the MPP.
And the beneficiary was in the MPP. At the time, the people who are crying wolf today, Afenyo Markin and Go, they were all in Parliament. They didn't see anything wrong with it. Joe Gatti was there with his big belly. He was there. Didn't see anything wrong with it.
Looks good.
These days I've lost mine, so I can talk about this. You see, I walk a lot. Sana, the people were there. They didn't see anything wrong with my cooking. But you see, in the true tradition of today's MPP, disavowing what they have done in the past and calling it I was a mate, Michael Quay took him to tell us he was a mate. He came and disavowed his own ruling, that there should be purposive interpretation. What is purposive interpretation? I went to Achibota school. What is purposive interpretation? What it was politics of convenience. You did it because it was convenient for you to do. You did it because you could. And now that same thing is being applied. What you did is being applied. There's a saying in Twitter, that is why we are enjoined to be very careful what we do as president, wherever you are, and more so if you are in the legislature as the speaker and if you are a judge. You see, all the precedents that the Supreme Court is setting in the hands of somebody else, do you think me, if I became the Supreme Court judge and a very partisan NDC government, what do you think will happen in this country? And as for me, I don't hide my partisanship. I'm proudly partisan, a proud Nkrumahist, a proud NDC oppressionic. You can call me anything you want, I don't care. But that is the reason why people like me should not be taken to the Supreme Court. You see, because if you have about 9 people like me in an NDC government, you will need a party card to buy milk. And we are heading there. Senna, there are cases in the Supreme Court that this Supreme Court have intentionally refused to hear. Ask me which ones. Forget about the LGBTQ thing. The e-levy bill. Yeah. Have they heard it? And you see, it would appear that every hearing that is inimical to this government, inimical to the people who appointed them, this Supreme Court doesn't want to hear it. In their ruling, they talk about disenfranchising people's parliamentary representation. Madam, have you not heard of the South matter? For 4 years, the people of the South have been disenfranchised. And Franklin Kujo, if you are watching, good morning and sorry for your pain. Franklin Kujo's people have not had representation for 4 years. The Supreme Court have not seen it fit to step in. Chachuchi Kata, lawyer Chachuchi Kata, the great Chachuchi Kata, applied for an injunction. It was not granted. In fact, the Attorney General fought it in court. Where was the Supreme Court then? There's another case that people have forgotten. Do you remember Jachi Kwesin's matter? The Supreme Court had no problem removing him when there was a plea by his lawyers that the people of Asin North would not be represented if they remove him. The court still ruled that he should be removed. You see, I don't have a law degree, but I read, I watch, and I learn. Sana, are you listening to me? I said, Jachi Kwesi. The Supreme Court removed him from his seat in contravention of what they are now espousing as we speak. And then there's more. Are you aware that if an MP dies or is incapacitated 3 months to the election, the law does not allow a by-election? Are you aware? Yeah. Is the Supreme Court aware or they are not aware? How many days do we have to go to the election? As at today, it's 49 days. So what are they doing? What are you doing? If an MP died 6 weeks ago, the law does not allow a by-election. So those people go unrepresented till the election. So what has changed? When you talk about the disenfranchisation of the MPs who did what they did, didn't they know that they were disenfranchising their own people? Didn't they know that? And you see, what is sound to me about the Speaker's ruling is this. If you have resigned from the party or the party has kicked you out, when there's an issue of contention in Parliament, what moral right do you have to be there speaking for anybody in the first place? When you have lost your own fidelity by your own actions. Am I making sense? Sure. You have compromised your own fidelity by your own actions or inactions. What right do you have to be there making laws for people? Binding laws. Why you saying it comes to mind? So the Supreme Court should sit down in their sober moments and ask themselves whether this Friday sitting was the right thing to do. The matter happened on Thursday. By Friday they were sitting. So who called them to sit? When were the processes for the injunction filed? At what time? And at what time were the justices notified to come up with a ruling by 4 p.m.? In the famous words of Dr. Michael Lee, the O.J. Simpson trial, something is wrong in this country. Something is wrong. When justices of the Supreme Court can injunct a Speaker of the House, giving separation of powers on a matter that has not been heard, citing the rights to representation of people, when they themselves in other cases have not given a damn about the rights to representation of other people in this country. Something is wrong. But I didn't want to say anything, don't want to say much, because I understand why he didn't want to say anything. Me, if you come and arrest me. But I'm saying it without impugning anybody's reputation. But I am citing the concerns of go to social media. The young people of this country are concerned about the direction of this country under this tyrannical, this elected tyranny under which we are living. And it doesn't help when one of the judges stood election for the MPP in 2016. Eric Geu. You see, justice must be seen to be done. I want to encourage our parliamentarians to be calm. Because at this point, at this time, you need calm reasoning. You have to be cool-headed. I also want to encourage my uncle Alban Babwin. Stand up and be counted. Ghanaians are counting on you. Don't capitulate with a whimper. You have been elected to act on behalf of the people of this country. The judges are appointed, they are not elected. You have been a parliamentarian since the start of this democracy. Now you have been elevated to speaker by your peers, even at a time when the MPP had a majority in parliament. That tells you how high in esteem you are held. So on Tuesday, this nation will expect. This nation will expect you to act right. I know what I would have done if I were you, but I can't tell you what you should do. Please, Uncle Eski, don't disappoint us. You need our super. Do not disappoint us. This business that I do not want to describe in so many words must end. It must end on Tuesday. It must end with a recognition that the people of this country have had enough. Enough already. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me do a few more of the comments you're sending to us via Facebook. This is Nicholas Uplampo, who says, we have to be very careful about Akufo-Addo's, it says, SPAC Supreme Court. It was the Supreme Court that said Jumensa should not account to Ghanaians how he managed to come out how she managed to come out with 4 different election results. This same Supreme Court ruled, but birth certificate is not a primary identity document, but rather Ghana card and passport. That came out of the birth certificate. There's Kofi Simon who will also join us. He says Akufo-Addo is a reckless person. He has... Okay. There are things when you write that I can't read. You must understand. There's Nana who says, Senna, may any member of today's panel answer the question: who is a member of parliament? The one who has taken the oath of office to grant him or her the leave of membership. No parliamentary candidate has that privilege. My junior high school 2 grandsons' understanding of Article 97(1)G and H is that if you join a group and break off to join another, you are no longer part of the old one, he said.
And you can't be a member of 2 at the same time.
So, what is here for the CJ and Co to worry about? Well, so those are some of the comments you're sending to us. Doc, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, my brother and my colleagues. It's a difficult morning. Well, every opportunity I get, I seek to dispel and dismantle illusions. Now, the law is and has always been an instrument of politics. Anybody comes and tells you that, oh, the law is impartial, it's blind, that's a lot of horse manure. So said that under slavery, one person could own another human being and even put him to death, if need be, without breaking any law. That's the first point to be made. And in Ghana, the law, all its branches have been loyal contingents of the NPP and its various predecessors. I mean, these are facts that are known or ought to be known to everybody. And it appears that our court, the Supreme Court, would always seek to discover what will please our despot and his party and act accordingly. But my limited understanding tells me that they are intruding on the turf of another constitutional body. And I think I heard my brother, Koyo, suggesting that they should stand up and be counted. They should discover the Amienu. Yeah. Isn't that what you're saying?
Yeah. They should be at the Amienu.
So maybe, because listening to some other people, it's quite possible that what their lordships have done can be declared to be in contempt of Parliament.
Absolutely.
But as for this current crop of court, I don't think that there are any hurry. to win back public confidence and to demonstrate that they do not hold us, Ghanaians, in extreme contempt by many of the decisions that they've made, which in almost every instance are a vacation of common sense. Like this nonsense about, what is it? Birth certificates. I could go on and cite others, but really, I don't think that they are in a hurry to raise their public esteem. Maybe you should leave them there. I don't think I should say more.
Look, thank you. Thank you very much. If you're just joining us, we are having a conversation with what has started. Okay, actually what started on the stage in Tamale at Alasan Suhini's campaign launch for the Tamale North constituency with Honorable Haruna Idrisu, giving a hint. Ended up in Parliament, decision was made in Parliament. By yesterday, it was in court. Because when the decision was being taken, Honorable Alexander Afenyo-Makin cried foul throughout. And after the decision, he continued throwing tantrums, even accusing radio stations of things that so they were, then by the next day the decision was made by the Supreme Court. At this point, it's left for Parliament to respond. Like my panelists have said, Tuesday is not too far away. So we'll see how Parliament responds to that. But in the meantime, let me say a big thank you to Shine FM and Akachi 96.9, Hills FM in Adaklo 91.7, Nuwasi Radio in Ketekrachi on 89.7, Salah Radio in Dabala is on 97.1, Diamond FM is on Tamale on 93.7, Bewa Radio in Yendi on 106.5, Radio Kita on Saboba on 95.7, Benya FM in Elmina on 105.7, there's Global FM in Ho on 105.1, there's Zeps FM 95.9 in Zebila, there's True FM 92.5 in Adeso. There's Lamar FM 89.1 in Tripoli. Boem 88.7 FM in Jasikan. Lukusi is on 96.1 in Vaigolokwati. Tyne FM on 90.9. Sekpele FM 104.3. Akpini Radio in Kwando. Denigba Radio on 90.9 FM. We're also live on Citizen TV Ghana on social media. Well, we have to move on to another discussion. By the meantime, you can join this conversation 0559 919802. Send us a text or WhatsApp message. I'll read it. And of course, if you're on Facebook or social media, as long as you read something that will not put the station first, not myself, in problem, I'll read it. Yes. Oh yes, of course, I need to protect the station, the organization. Anyway.
Madam will bring you some newly married.
Well, we have to move on and talk about the elections, preparations for the elections. In fact, the Electoral Commission, that's last week, was attempted to print ballot papers. Later, after having some pushback, they negated printing notices of poll. Now, they said they are going ahead to print the ballot papers and say they have dealt with issues with regard to the voters' register. Subsequently, there's also the issue of the fact that Comrade Bernard Mona is actually still in court, challenging the decision to disqualify him. The court to make a decision on that matter. So it means, as I understand, the court has advised the Electoral Commission to at least hold on with the printing of ballot papers for now, until a decision is made on that issue. So that will be made next week. But the issue is going ahead. And also there's also the Memphis Central issue, where the Electoral Commission has disqualified the NDC's parliamentary candidate. Their reason, there was an injunction placed before court on them and the NDC and Memphis Central parliamentary candidate. Even before, because it's quite an interesting narration. Anyway, we'll take the whole time. But what happened was that, well, there was a court case in court. There was a case raised against the Memphis Central parliamentary candidate. The NDC decided, okay, under the circumstances, since you are seeking the annulment of that election primaries, we would annul the primaries. We'll hold a fresh one so that everybody starts over again. They did that. The EC supervised it. The lady is still declared as the winner of the elections. Then, a few months after that, or barely weeks after that, the EC then disqualifies the same lady. They declared in that rerun of the primaries, citing an injunction on the earlier primary. Well, so that is the matter, but the NDC has taken that matter to court. So we'll talk about the lead up to the elections and preparations for it. We are about, I think, 49 days to go now. Let me start with you, Prof, on these issues.
Yes, thank you very much. I think we should be concerned about the Electoral Commission in terms of its posturing and then its preparedness, largely also because it appears to me that an institution that should be working largely with transparency as the watchword has rather reserved itself for an institution from which transparency should be demanded at all times. And that is quite worrying. The EC is expected to be a neutral arbiter, but conducts and pronouncements of officials at the very top of the EC in the last couple of months have not been very helpful as far as its image is concerned. I know my once upon a time classmates at the University of Ghana, Bosman Asari, have had the chance on radio or TV to say that the NDC as a political party is a threat to Ghana's democracy. If you haven't, yes, he was. You're surprised. If you have somebody who is supposed to be presiding over election matters, or somebody who is presiding over an important state institution, making an open comment in the public domain, basically saying that one of the major political parties in this country, just by demanding for fairness, is a threat to Ghana's democracy. That questions the suitability and the capability of that individual to be a neutral arbiter in a contest in which the NDC is a party. We have also seen that leading up to this election, unless and until NDC makes a demand for something again in the interest of transparency, the EC basically behaves as if they are some imperial institution that are doing Ghanaians a favor. Ideally, by now, the register should have been something that is a public document that people can easily access. For some reason, we are heading into an election and our voters register is being treated as a gold or diamond in the belly of the soil for which people need to mine in order to get hold of it. 49 days to election, and we have just had a notice of poll printed. 49 days to an election, we have legal battles that are emerging out of some of the decisions and indecisions of the EC. I mean, with particular reference to Bernard Mona's case, and then, of course, our own case in the Amenfi Central. I worry that time is probably not on our side as a country. Granted that the Supreme Court or the court eventually decides that Bernard Mona's disqualification is null and void, what do you do to your notice of polls? What do you do to your ballots, papers that you were, or other materials that you may have printed by way of putting across public education and so on and so forth? Are you going to go back and do balloting again if, for instance, Bernard Mona's disqualification was turned upside down? So I think that the EC has basically left in its trail too many, traces of incompetence, incoherence, inconsistency, lack of clarity, and many debts on its own integrity. The elections ahead of us, just like the many that have gone before, are not child's play. It is about the destiny of this country, of ours. And it will serve us well if the Electoral Commission rises up to the occasion and demonstrates that it has no interest in who becomes the president and who becomes a member of parliament for any constituency. and that their role as an institution is essentially to make sure that they supervise Ghanaians who exercise their will as to who governs this country. Let me talk about ballot-related matters. The NDC have had a cause to raise concerns about ballot printing, and I was frankly surprised that the EC was proceeding to engage in ballot printing when some other issues that should have come before ballot printing have not been made publicly available. For instance, which institutions or which companies are printing the ballot papers for this country. And as Ghanaians, we shouldn't take that lightly. We shouldn't just assume that the EC can be trusted to basically procure any institutions to print ballot for us. I was involved in supervising some of the ballot printing houses in the last election, 2020 elections. And as you may know, I mean, or seen from the news media, one of the ballot printing houses, if my memory serves me right, I think it's InnoLink. Bizarre circumstances where we discovered over 1 million ballot papers, 1 million presidential ballot papers printed on the blind side of people who were observing the printing, but for the vigilance of the NDC agents who were there. And that kind of gets me thinking. Of course, the printing house gives some kind of bizarre explanations. How can you even say that you were printing those ones just in case there is a runoff? Which runoff has all the candidates on the ballot? So some way, somehow, those ballot papers were destroyed. But the question is, could they have printed this thing again elsewhere? I mean, on the blind side again of the political parties. And I want to say that because times have changed, technology has improved, and the printing technology in particular has moved on, we should not use the same mindset of 1992 to approach ballot printing, where a plate is developed by the ballot printing house, it is shown to the party agents, they are all on site, printing goes on, they check the first serial number, they check the last serial number, and then they think that everything is done. Could that plate have been exported elsewhere, maybe a subsidiary of the printing house, on the blind side of everybody, and extra ballots printed and given to a political party? That is a real possibility. So we need to look carefully at the mechanics of printing. I don't know if, for instance, Assembly Press will be printing ballot papers for this particular election. But if it will be, which is a government, okay, good.
In the case of Assembly Press, David Asante.
So I was going to come to that. If they are going to print, if you recall, David Asante was previously the convener of, is it Let My Vote Count, right? That was organizing all manner of needless protests in this country against the NDC prior to 2016 election. He became the CEO of Assembly Press, the government press. 2020, Assembly Press was involved in printing ballot papers. Tell me that an appointee of Nanado was placed in charge of printing ballot papers for an election. Do you wonder why people talk about extra ballot papers that have entered ballot boxes elsewhere across this country? So I think that the Ghanaians must be interested in the houses the print houses that are printing ballot papers. But beyond being interested, we also need to question how they were procured, how some were selected and how others were not selected. Then we also need to look at the mechanics of how party agents observe the printing process. My own experience from 4 years ago was that rather than agents being on the machine to see what is coming out regularly, they were just in the premises, you know. And then when they start from the first serial number to the last serial number, they call them to come and check. But whilst you are not on the machine, whilst it's printing, anything could have happened. And so I honestly do think that for the fact that extra ballot phenomena had always showed its head in our elections, we should be asking, what is it that the print houses are not doing right? And these are private companies. Nobody speaks about them in the media. They don't come to talk about anything. They have been basically procured to produce ballot papers. But they are Ghanaians. They have partisan affiliations. They have interests. In fact, I would challenge all of us to be interested in the ownership of some of those ballot printing houses. Who owns InnoLink, for instance? Just go and check who owns InnoLink, in addition to Assembly Press that we know. And then check all the others. And you'll be amazed.
Who owns back press?
Well, I know you will come to that.
Yeah, who owns back press?
Check all those ones and check their political. I mean, back press, for instance. Check the various boards on which the current government have appointed people, and check where the CEO is serving, and tell me that that individual is printing ballot papers. I mean, for us. The owner of InnoLink is a top government official, and he will be printing ballot papers for us. I think that we got to be serious, and this is where, I mean, I'm hoping that this sets agenda for a new conversation about a potential area in the value chain of the election, where the state could be set to change election results without people knowing what exactly happened. And we must be very, very, I mean, vigilant with that. I like what our party has been doing, the NDC has been doing in terms of checkmating the process. I mean, but it does appear to me that Ghanaians need to actually know a little bit more about why the demands for transparency are urgent and that we cannot take it for granted. Look, the truth of the matter is that we want NDC to win. NDC must win. Ghanaians should not see this as an NDC MPP matter. In fact, it must be an issue of MPP versus Ghanaians matter, because where this country has reached, if we don't rescue it and get a respite and reset it so that we can get onto a better path, and we make the mistake of allowing what is going on now, I mean, the driver's mate to basically come back and tell us that he is now campaigning against his own government on many of the issues that they have implemented, so we should give him power. If we make that mistake, then the Ghana we know is gone forever.
Prof, thank you. Thank you very much. On the matter of the ballot printing, I think there's a group called Election Watch Ghana. They actually have filed an RT application before the Electoral Commission seeking for some information, how they arrived at the printers that they are using currently.
We should give that kind of thing elevation.
Yeah.
We should speak about it a bit more and let Ghanaians be aware that there is too much discretion, first of all, that the Electoral Commission is claiming to itself. I think that it doesn't hurt for the Electoral Commission to be proactive in putting a lot of things in the public domain on its own and letting people verify for themselves. And I am particular about ballot printing houses, and I think we should all take interest in it, because that layer in the value chain can make or unmake every effort towards 2024. And we should not just treat them as private citizens, private companies that are printing ballot papers. There is a whole lot of politics around it. And I think that we should be interested in making sure that we uncover the politics, put a scrutiny eye on them. For instance, I don't see why media houses cannot put their cameras there while printing is going on and be reporting directly to the general public. What is secrecy about printing ballots? The media houses should all have their cameras in the place and be reporting if they see something untoward. 4 years ago, all manner of hooligans walking around, I mean, the ballot printing houses, calling themselves national security, preventing people who otherwise, senior party people who otherwise were coming around to supervise what was, I mean, going on. We should have the media there. So also should we have the media in the Electoral Commission so-called strong room, and let the media actually carry live the arguments and the computations and the mechanics that are going on there, so that in the end, we don't leave, I mean, the whole thing into an opaque situation where the Electoral Commission can hoodwink everybody and come and announce about 6 different election results and yet claim that somebody has won.
Thank you. Thank you. Petron Solo is asking whether contempt of court applies to everybody under the Constitution or it applies to some people. It is at the discretion of the court. So the judge will decide. Yes.
Nobody is excluded from the law.
Yeah. But ultimately, contempt is at the discretion of the court. Yeah.
Parliament and the courts both have contempt discretion. So the speaker can actually hold some of those judges in contempt.
No, he's asking specifically about contempt of courts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yes. Contempt of court. Anyway,
I think the IGP has been held in contempt of court.
yes. The IGP, I think even
the question is how do you enforce it?
In contempt of court.
Yeah, how do you enforce contempt of court against the IGP?
And I'll come to you, but first let me remind you that this is the Mother of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji, live on Pan-African television and also live on Radio Gold 90.5 FM. Come in, Najib.
Come in, Senna. I can see that my brother has dealt very well with this printing of ballot papers, so I'll leave that, and then I can see that Kojo, my senior brother, is itching to speak on it, so I'm going to be focusing more on the EC and, you know, all the gimmicks they are playing. it's so unfortunate that the EC has allowed itself to be seen now in the light of their posturing and behavior as an appendage of the Flagstaff House. And they seem to be doing the bidding of certain people. In fact, until the last election, the credibility of the EC, the Electoral Commission in this country, had never been in any doubt. We had the 92 election, 96 election, 2000 election, and on, until the last election. Of course, there have always been challenges, you understand. The Afarijan administration did so well to keep up with the credibility of the Electoral Commission all throughout in office. In fact, if you do remember, I think apart from the Rawlings regime, it is only Nana Akufo-Addo that had the opportunity, as it were, to appoint all 7 Electoral commissioners. President Kufuor didn't have that. President, what's his name? Atta Mills didn't have that. President John Dramani Mahama didn't have that. They had the opportunity to do that. Did it come naturally? The Electoral Commission's credibility started dwindling right after Charlotte Osei was taken out. A lot of confidence was eroded because of the process of getting the woman out. And up till date, the Electoral Commission has not done so much to keep up with this good image that was created by the commissioners before them. Now, if you remember, I think it was in '92 when they boycotted Parliament. And, you know, after losing the election, they went about with all sorts of talks and went and wrote a book called The Stolen Verdict. If you look today, and I don't know if they still read it, at the things they cried foul about, today they are doing about tenfold of those things. One of their cries at the time was that President Rawlings had a chance to appoint all the commissioners. You understand? Today, Nana Addo Adanko Akufo-Addo has appointed the Electoral Commission and all the deputy commissioners to take charge of this commission and are doing his bidding. Now, what do I mean when I say it was in the last election that they started losing their credibility? Let me take our memories back a little. How was Charlotte Osei taken out from office? If you remember, they started, right after Afarijan left, they had started agitating because they know the Electoral Commission is a tool that they needed to dominate, to control, you know, have some level of control over. So if you remember, people like Bedi Etu and the rest led the onslaught against the administration at the time, saying that there was a need for the John Dramani Mahama administration to allow the Council of State to appoint the Electoral Commission.
Where is he now?
Today, he's quiet. Where is he? Where's all that talk? I mean, where was all that talk? They said the administration should allow the Council of State to appoint the Electoral Commission at the time. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo himself, the president today, who was the opposition leader at the time, said, oh, we needed to do wider and broader consultation. He needed to bring people on board, and on and on and on. So clearly, there was the intention, as it were, to take control of the Electoral Commission and use it as a tool, exactly the way they are using it today, right from the onset. Now, what happened was that, and if you do remember, quite a number of people, because, of course, the people working at the Electoral Commission are human beings like us. They are citizens like us. They have political affiliations and all of that. We do not expect people to be neutral at that commission, but at least some level of objectivity. Of course, Afarijan himself used to vote. Charlotte voted. He never voted. Okay, but obviously, my brother, I'm sure he had some, yes, everybody has some leanings towards a political party in one way or the other. But your ability to stay neutral and perform with some level of professionalism is what we are talking about here. Unfortunately, that is not being displayed in this current administration. Now, if you remember the so-called petition that took out Charlotte Osei, we were told at the time that the presidency was only transmitting it. Yeah. It came through the presidency and went out. What happened? Yeah. When the letter, I call it a letter, got to the presidency, it was realized that among the so-called anonymous people that had put in the petition, one of them died long before the petition got to the presidency. If you do remember, that was enough grounds to throw out that letter. The second problem that arose at the time was the fact that the letter, because again, I don't call it a petition, was not signed. A petition that is not signed cannot be deemed as a petition. What did the presidency do? The presidency that said it was acting as a transmitter, in fact, they co-authored the letter by holding onto it and calling the people to come and sign on it before it was transmitted. These are all issues that started dwindling the credibility of the Electoral Commission. Fast forward.
You've forgotten to say that even before they won,
yes,
they had indicated that if they
come to power, they will definitely remove the commissioner. They made that clear. Yeah. You know, it was in no doubt. So finally, they got their way with the woman. They got rid of her, and they decided to appoint Madam Jane Mensah, who was clearly an anti-NDC establishment from the time when she was at IE. Well, maybe not an anti-SMG movement, maybe not an anti-butterfly movement and all of that. But it was clear, if you watched her posturing and everything, they decided to bring her in. They decided to add Prof's own classmate, Bossman, who was an open MPP member. Because he had served as a TESCON patron. And then the other one, as they prefer to call people, the other one, who came and told us that in 2016 register, we had goats and cows and trees,
yeah,
you know, in that register. And up to date, he's still comfortably sitting in office. So they set the stage to make sure that they had full control over the Electoral Commission to use as and how they please. I'm saying all of this to let you understand how the Electoral Commission itself has done a lot of distraction to itself and dwindled its own credibility over a period of time. Now, after the 2020 election, what did we see happening? We saw the first election results called out. Then the second one came and annulled the first one. The third one came and annulled the second one. The fourth one, and it was all bazaar.
For the first time in our history.
For the first time in our history. Charlotte Osei, who you took out on, according to the Supreme Court, on grounds of stated misbehavior. I don't know. We are yet to understand what that means. Who was kicked out. Even she transmitted election results very accurately. Unfortunately, these people could not do that. The arithmetic was too hard for them. The 1 + 1 - 2 plus this. In fact, you don't even do subtraction. It's just addition. Exactly. They simply could not do that. That is after taking the taxpayers' money to buy a lot of gadgets, to invest in their manpower and all of that. They came with this mess, my brother. That led to more dwindling of their credibility and eroded more confidence in the public about them. Then the issue is dragged to court. The woman at the center of things, refuses to be put, in the box to be questioned. And the Supreme Court allowed it. This morning I've said I'm going to be very careful with the courts so that I don't get cited for contempt like Prof was. So, but, it was...
You're afraid of a few hours behind counterback.
Well, not just a few hours behind counterback. I do have to.
Oh, you have only one.
I have to, just like every other person. But I ought to be careful. We are living in very dangerous times. They may not even come after me using the courts. You don't know what these people can do. But you see, Senna, this is exactly what happened. And so nobody can blame the general public for the distrust in the Electoral Commission. Now, when they had the opportunity to remedy this during the limited registration and all of that, what did we see? We saw figures mentioned one day, the NDC challenges it, and then the figures change. You understand? The next day figures come, another challenge is thrown at it, and then it keeps changing. So, clearly, these are a bunch of very incompetent people. Okay? At least that's how it appears to people like us. These are people who they keep shouting independence of the Electoral Commission, but they are clearly under the direction of some unseen hands behind the stage. You understand? So it's dwindling a lot of credibility. It is eroding confidence in the general public about who they are. And like Prof is saying, it's making people demand transparency from them when they ought to be exuding it. And that is not too good. Their behavior and posturing over a period of time is not helpful to our democracy. It's unfortunate that Mr. Bosman would come to say that the NDC is a threat to the democracy of this country, and then go ahead to behave the way they are behaving. But like I'm saying, that is what bourgeois politics is all about. It's about control and dominance. And they seek consistently, the NPP government always seeks to have a strategic, attack on their opponents. They seek to have full control over this country. They are not looking at just this election. They're looking at elections in the future. They're looking to have full control and dominance of every sector of this country. Be it the finance sector, be it the economy itself, any sector at all. But how do you do that if you don't impose yourself on the people? And how do you do that? You need a tool like the Electoral Commission to be at your whims and caprices to be able to do that. So that is why they are doing any and everything to have control of this tool called the Electoral Commission. It's a shame that things have gotten this bad, but we keep saying that's what the bourgeois democracy is about.
Thank you.
Thank you too.
Thank you, Najib. A few comments from you, those of you watching us currently. Let me share some of the thoughts you are sharing with us on the issues we're discussing. Then we'll move on. Well, this is from Hadi Pikfam. He says, when it came to Jechikwesi and Sal cases, the people did not deserve representation. But in the ruling of the Speaker declaring parliamentary seats vacant, the Supreme Court thinks the people deserve representation. May Allah save Mother Ghana. Inshallah, Mother Ghana will not die because of some people's interest. And that's coming from, thank you very much for that comment. There's Abbas Amogobo in Ofinso who says that the Supreme Court judges, they always with the bidding, they are, so I think the way you've put it is difficult to understand what you're saying, but I said that is shameful. They have held the proper human sexual right bill hostage for 8 months, and yet they are in less than 24 hours giving orders to another co-equal arm of government. We must disband. The Speaker of Parliament and the new majority MPs of Ghana must stand their ground and not take orders from a co-equal arm of government. That's coming from Abbas Amogobo in Ofinso. There's also Musa Abatwa. I think you sent a comment earlier. It says the ruling by the Apex Court is being questioned not only by Kojo Chumbo, but also majority of lawyers across the country. I'm not a lawyer, but by my layman's thoughts clearly points out the fact that the Supreme Court deliberately erred on its decision because the indefinite stay of execution contradicts the standard 10-day limit for ex parte motions and may interfere with the parliamentary process. God save Mother Ghana. There's also, this Stephen Payne, who says that the nonchalant behavior and scandalous activities of the EC is seriously a worry, and Ghanaians must stand up and call them out. My regards to Professor Kwesa White. Says you are his grandson. Well, Engineer.
Prof. Professor White.
Yes.
My brother. You said Bosman is your classmate.
Yes, we actually were. We all graduated with political science.
I'm going to shock you. Jim Mensah is my classmate.
Oh. Interesting.
I see.
We sat in the same class in primary school.
Interesting.
And I'm going to shock you further. We grew up on the same street.
Wow.
In a Port residential area.
I see.
So, in the balance of the young people of today, we are both Dadamba. We grew up at the Port residential area. Same street. If you come to my parents' house, I'll show you where the house is. Same street.
That's why you want to go to jail.
So, imagine a scenario in which President Mahama has made you and I EC chair and deputy EC chair in whichever order. What opprobrium will not occur in this country? But Akufo-Addo has done it and gotten away with it. And I am telling you that anytime we talk about the partisanship of the Electoral Commission, people don't mention the EC chair herself. She is very, very partisanly political. In fact, she's the worst of the bunch. I don't want to say what I know. Just take it from me. She's the worst of the bunch. And if you think I'm lying, when she was caught on the hot mic, referring to the NDC as Meneme, what, if you understand Ga, and Dr. Percy is here, he speaks very good Ga. It's a derogatory reference, Wenum. That should tell you how what she thinks about the NDC. But even worse are the contradictory things that she has been doing since she assumed the chair vis-a-vis when she was at IEA.
That's right.
Let's audit you signed. You see, I've never wanted to go in this direction, but right now we are in injury time. In injury time, you take quick free kicks, quick corner kicks. If you need to dive in the penalty box to get a penalty so you can equalize, you do it. Because 3 points are at stake. When she was the EC, when she was IEA boss, she signed the communique. Today they tell you she only signed it. So you sign the communique, you don't read it.
It's a double standard.
It's not a double standard, it's a stupid utterance. To tell me that you are the boss of IEA, you signed the communique when you were a lawyer, you didn't read it. Are we crazy in this country? We make an excuse for everything stupid that is done. Just to shield some people. The MPP made it very clear that they were going to remove Charlotte Osei. Let me tell you something that a lot of people don't know. The first petition that was written against Charlotte Osei was written by Nana Fredu Adjema. Nana Fredu Ofoyata, sorry. A lot of people don't know that. That was the first petition. They didn't show it to us. Because after they realized that it will cause opprobrium, they withdrew that petition, let some people, that is when the dead people came in. But the process to remove Charlotte Osei began long before they won power. They telegraphed it to us that they will remove her. But I ask a question. Akufo-Addo has set a lot of precedents and given us a lot of pathways.
Well, God has patience for us. So we'll see.
No, but as for me, I don't care. Frankly, I don't care. Because there aren't two different kinds of citizens in this country. Prof, you are the governance professor. You know about the plebeians and the patricians. This country doesn't have plebeians and patricians. We are all equal under the law. So the pathway that Akufo-Addo has set to remove Article 72 holders is the same pathway that I will encourage President Mahama to get rid of the Mensa and that gang at the easy. It's as simple as that. The NDC should not pretend that they can work with those people. Bosman Asare has said unequivocally that the NDC is the problem in this country. There are other people who are on the Electoral Commission. Peter Apiahini was seen campaigning with Dr. Bawumia. He is a serial caller for the MPP. There's another lady there. So what are we waiting for? When the NDC comes to power? Or is it the case that you wait? As for me, I am, like I said, I am proudly partisan. I don't have anything to pretend. Pretense is not my thing. I can't pretend. Senna, you've known me for 25 years. I don't pretend. The things that this current AEC have done are shameful, they are shambolic, they are partisan, and frankly, some of them defies logic, defies common sense, the ex-ante-rigging. You see, people think that rigging only begins when the election is done and people are carrying polling boxes and running towards a river. No. The MPP have consequential and sequential history of putting impediments in the way of the NDC to make sure that we never come back to power. But let me ask you, are they God? What is it in this world that has lasted forever? For those of you who are good students of history, Attila the Hun conquered the whole of Europe, right? A month after his girlfriend killed him. Alexander the Great conquered the whole of Europe and North Africa, and then he got malaria and he died. Genghis Khan conquered the whole of what is now modern Asia. He used to use the middle of women's breast to do archery practice. You know what happened to him? One day a tree fell on him. He died. Hannibal, Hitler, Mussolini, Napoleon Bonaparte. What has happened to all of them? Are they still around? Are their political philosophies still existing? I could go on and on and on. Where's Sani Abacha today? Where's Charles Taylor? Where's Idi Amin? Where's Jean Bedel Bokassa? Where's Papa Doc? Where's Baby Doc? So, history and religion tells us that whatever we do in this world is transient. Bedietu, Nana Santi Bedietu, wrote everybody's dismissal letter with glee. Ordered for security services to go arrest Sami Jenfi because of a post Sami Jenfi put on Facebook. Where is he now? these days, when letter comes from the presidency, they sign for the executive secretary. Do you know why? He's not available. The person you are looking for is not available. Please try later. Everything is transient. So Akufo-Addo and his gang of brigands and buccaneers, one day they will go. But what they are doing is what will live with us.
To remember them.
Like taking our bank accounts to pay for Kenoforiata's foolishness, whilst he walks away with a profit. But you see, we all know that there are times, and once again, the governance and civics professor is sitting here, there are times when the people say no, enough. And it depends on how that enough comes. Many of you in this country do not know what happened in this country when Jerry Rawlings came to power in 1979. People were pouring whiskey, Black Label, down the gutter, because at that time it wasn't important. You can't drink enough of it to escape justice. People were burning wax paint because we to be fried to money enough to escape the soldiers when they were coming to your house. Houseboys were reporting their masters. The drivers were reporting their masters. So we have a history of accountability in this country. We gathered generals, 8 of them, and shot them for nothing. Some of them, I mean, can you imagine that if Jerry Rawlings were to come to power today and set the standard for which the generals were shot, how many people will be shot today? Because the standard then was some of them had taken loans that they shouldn't have taken. It seems that 40 to 45 years on, all the lessons of the anger of the people have been forgotten. And we live in a world where we have a president who brazenly does what he wants. I mean, President Akufo-Addo had the nerve and the pomposity of a dog tick to ask President Mahama to debate Baumia. You see, I tell you, Senna, I tell you people that many of the people who man this country have mental problems. In 2016, when President Mahama's campaign team were asking for a debate between Akufo-Addo and Baumia, what did Baumia say? Didn't he say that President Mahama should go and debate the people of Sangba? Do you remember?
I know.
He said he should go and debate the people of Sangba. Why? Are the Sangbanese dead? The Sangbanese, are they dead? Has Sangba been obliterated from the map? Why isn't Baumia going to debate the Sangbanese and ask them, how much are you buying tomatoes today? How much are you buying kenke today? How much are you buying cocoa and bofloat? How much? What is the dollar? The dollar that was supposed to give into the IGP and locked, locked in. Where's that IGP? Where's the key? Because clearly Atayi got the key from the IGP. And now the dollar is selling at nearly 17 cedis. And when you ask them, they tell you it's Russia, Ukraine, Russia, Ukraine, and all of them, Ukraine, Russia war, all of them, like a bunch of lemmings about to jump off a cliff with their leader. Russia, Ukraine war, like whooping cough.
Even the Russia and the Ukraine are not blaming their war for their economic woes.
Because the president himself went to Ukraine to beg. The president, Akufo-Addo, he went to Ukraine in the middle of the night. You see, this country needs a reset. But a reset is not just a political reset. We need to reset our principles. We need to reset what guides us, what wakes us up every morning, and what puts us to sleep at night. Because there are some thieves in the temple.
Values.
President, the president, yes, that's the word I was looking for. Thank you. It's good when you have PhDs around you who don't have this Dutch passport. We have to reset our values. Because we cannot live in a country where a minister is caught with dollars in her wardrobe. And the president writes her a letter saying that, I know you will be exonerated. The president who is a lawyer. President who was supposed to have graduated law school. Prejudices the investigation. So are you surprised when the Economic and Organized Crime Office says they will not investigate the crime? Are you surprised? Because the president has prejudiced it already. They are afraid.
They have already postponed it. They will be compelled to investigate it.
Oh, one day to be investigated. Now, she say, it will be. We will revisit where the basket was. Whether it was Ghana must go, we will revisit where the money was. We will go and count the money to make sure that nobody has taken a cent, because it's not their money. They are buying sicker. Like a very wise old man told me when I was appointed as executive secretary of Free Zones, told me, say, I won't mention his name. Very, very prominent Ghanaian citizen, very respected. One of the greatest political titans of our time gave me that advice. Unfortunately, he didn't advise Akufo-Addo and his gang of brigands and buccaneers, because they don't even take advice.
Maybe they didn't listen.
Oh, do they listen? These super two-way people, do they listen? So, let me end here by simply saying, Ghanaians, you need a reset. And the person who is going to begin that reset is President John Dramani Mahama. He has promised and outlined what he is going to do in 120 days of coming to power. Because the criminals, the brigands, the buccaneers, the highway robbers, and the usurpers have completely destroyed your country. Not only have they taken your bank account to pay for what Ken Ofori-Atta has done, they have put many of you out of jobs, and now they have poisoned your water. They have absolutely destroyed your environment, and the regional chairman of Ashanti region, aka Wontumi of Prempeh College, sits in his radio studio, and shows you gold bars after destroying the river. Going to mine in the Nimri forest. I'm not saying it. It is the ministry that said that he went to mine in the forest reserve. You know, the Nimri forest is the source of the river Tano, right? The Barikesi Dam in Kumasi takes its water from the river Tano. So for what shall it profit you if you go and poison the source of the water, come and show us gold bars, and then you go and drink the water that comes on the Barikesi Dam? What are you doing to yourself? We have people mining in the Etiwa Forest Reserve. The Etiwa Forest Reserve is the source of the River Birim and the source of the Densu River. The whole of Western Accra drink water from the Densu River, because it is the Densu River that feeds the Weja Dam, right? From the Koforidua intake. So now we've moved from law. I'm teaching you engineering. The Birim empties into the Pra, 116 kilometers southwest at Adesu. So they poison the water in the Birim, and then it poisons the Pra River. Then the people of Cape Coast drink it, and they get kidney infections. Not only kidney infections, liver infections. One fine day, you wake up in the morning, you don't have two, you have one. Some people wake up with nothing at all. This is what they have done to our country. On 7 December, boot them the hell out. Boot them out in significant number, significant majority. Don't let the EC tell you that John Mahama didn't win the election. John Mahama has already, to all intents and purposes, won this election. Let's elect him, let's inaugurate him, and let him investigate every single thing that these people have done. From assets, some of the assets ended up in Liberia, to whatever it is that they have done will be investigated. We put a fine-tooth comb to everything they have done. The same standard that they set for us. I went to Yoko 34 times. We apply the same standard, nothing will change. And like I said, for me, I am unrepentant because of what I went through. I am demanding that the same accountability that we were asked to account for our tenure, NPP officials and apparatchiks should account for their tenure. You have put David Asante. Let my vote count. You're supposed to be an independent. Let my vote count. Let my vote approve. What Dr. Pesawai didn't tell you is that David Asante stood for parliamentary election in Nkoko. Even though he lost, there were machinations to remove the current Nkoko MP. If he hadn't threatened to go independent, in fact, at one point, David Asante was acclaimed as the MPP parliamentary candidate for Nkoko. Why is he superintending the printing of ballot papers? Why is he superintending the printing of ballot papers?
Party people printing ballot papers, party people in the judicial system.
I mean, what kind of sick people run this country? David Asante printing ballot papers. Seriously? Now it will not be let my vote count, it will be let me print ballot papers.
Let my papers count.
Let my paper count, so I can tamprint. Let me tamprint papers. Charlie,
thank you. I need to take a short break. We'll take a short break. When we come back, Dr. Percy will conclude on that conversation for us on the Mother of All Talk Shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. Give us a moment.
The land of freedom, he's the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He's the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He's the Redeemer.
How can we solve the unemployment crisis in Ghana? Yes, Massa.
By using formula 133.
Can you expatiate?
Say, this simply means 1 job, 3 shifts, 3 people. That is the Mahama 24-hour economy policy. Under this policy, businesses will be given tax incentives, cheaper electricity, financial support, and security support services to encourage them to work 24/7 by adopting 3 work shifts of 8 hours each. This will triple job opportunities in the country. This policy will boost production, increase productivity, and generate well-paying jobs in all participating businesses and public organizations.
Excellent. The 24-hour policy will be a game changer.
Vote for change. Vote for John Mahama and the NDC.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer.
Welcome back to the Mother of All Talk Shows, Alhaji and Alhaji, live from the studios, or study for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah studios of Pan-African Television. And of course, we are also live on Radio Gold. We are live on social media. The page is Pan-African Television. We'll listen to Dr. Percy shortly. This Prince Henry Koforidua says, I was amazed by the ruling of the Supreme Court concerning the vacant seats declared by Speaker Bagbin. But when I remembered the same Supreme Court has ruled that birth certificate can be used as proof of citizenship, I just read Proverbs 29:2 and cried. This Supreme Court under the Nana Bawumia-led government are very predictable and very dangerous for our democracy. The future is pregnant. That's Prince Harry in Koforidua. This is coming from Habib, who says, good morning. Today our Supreme Court has become a wing of the MPP. We'll remember what happened to James J. Chikwesin, how the Supreme Court told us he can't represent Asin North. When it comes to Afenyo Markins, the Supreme Court is saying those MPP must represent their constituency. If not, double standard. What is it? What does the MPP's own constitution say about cross carpet in their party? The Supreme Court, okay, we have cases that still at the Supreme Court, like the E-Levy and Co. But see the speed of light with which the Supreme Court ruled over this Afenyo case. What a shame. Thank God the NDC is not going to any court after the election. We shall finish everything on the streets. Habib Bantu sent that all the way from Italy. Habib, good morning to you. And then this one coming from Alhaji Hamza said, good morning. We shall be truthful to ourselves and speak the truth for once in this country. The Supreme Court currently under this government is gradually rendering our parliament in charge of making laws useless in the country. The ruling of the Speaker of Parliament had nothing to do with the interpretation of the Constitution. And it is clear the Supreme Court is trying hard to undermine the authority of the Speaker of Parliament simply because he belongs to a different political party who is in opposition. I think it is time the Speaker of Parliament puts his feet down and fight for his rights. In my humble opinion, the Speaker should ignore... okay. Says enough is enough, Senator. Okay. Thank you very much, Alhaji Hamza, for sending that comment. I think those are, and then one last more from Masola Kwablia, Ayawaso East constituency says Article 3 now of the MPP's constitution states clearly that a member automatically forfeits his or her membership the very day they decide to contest as an independent. But the same people are going against their constitution, and the Supreme Court is where they've gone to seek for help, which was unfortunately given to them by the unanimous FC. But Speaker Bagbin will show them stuff he's made of on Tuesday. He will let them know that he's not timid and so cannot be succumbed. Before I go to Dr. Percy, briefly, go ahead.
I wanted to say something. Somebody has just reminded me. Thank you to Edwin Hackman from Michigan for reminding me that the current IT director at the EC is Yao Kwachi. Yao Kwachi is the son of the late Yao Amfu Kwachi. Yao Amfu Kwachi was the personal assistant of Akufo-Addo when he was at the foreign affairs minister. For those of you who are too young to know the history of Yao Amfu Kwachi, he smuggled weed in yams to the UK and was arrested and jailed. It is fact. He smuggled weed. So the friends and family that Akufo-Addo practices, it's not just friends and family. It's friends and family and children or friends and family?
Dynasty.
So if you are lucky enough to have died, he appoints your son to go and continue his mess, or your daughter to go and continue his mess. And throughout government, in this Akufo-Addo government, it abounds. The 65 people that we're talking about are direct family and friends appointees. We haven't talked about the what do you call it? The descendants.
Family or families.
Families or families. But one of them is now the EC director of IT. So what do you people think is going to happen? But you see, like I said, I have itemized and categorized a lot of people who went as far as conquering the world or parts of the world. The British Empire today, where is it? At a point in time, the British owned 1/4 of this world. They owned every leaf of tea you drink because they owned the Dutch East Indies Company. The British conquest of India and East India, like I said, there are history professors here, was because of tea and spices. For those of you who don't know your history, today, what is left of the British? What is left of the British Empire? Today, they are begging the people who they brought to come and build the underground to live. At one point in time, they were importing Caribbeans and Africans and Asians to come and build the underground system. Today, they are begging them to leave.
Thank you. Doc.
Yeah, thank you. First off, I think we must quit the pretense that we have an independent constitutional body called the Electoral Commission, which is in charge of managing our elections. From the moment the President Akufo-Addo engineered the ouster of Charlotte Osei and appointed Jay Mensah, what we've had, and we've always had, is an agency, an extension of the MPP. I think we confuse the Ghanaian people when we fail to make them aware of this, so that it appears that people are engaged in some banter with some independent constitutional body who are just merely being recalcitrant or oftentimes just plain stupid. What you're dealing with is the MPP. You know, one thing about the MPP's method, they always start from the answer.
For a question.
Then they set the question.
For those of us mathematicians, it's called proof by induction.
Okay.
When you know the answer, you can find the question.
Okay.
I can prove to you that K can hold for K plus 1. I know the answer. I can give you the question.
They always start from the answer. They know what they want. So they start from there. Then they start to look for the questions. And so they start from there, what they know, what they want. And I am not so confident that they will lose this election, because there are so many things that they have said that are working for them. And one thing that is working to their advantage has been the lack of clarity in the messaging, in the communication of the NDC. When this whole thing started, it looks like today, this business about going to the IT system and fishing out the weaknesses, the loopholes that are there, which would be the basis for winning the election, has been abandoned. So I know that the EC in the past week, does it end today or has it ended?
I think it's ended.
The period that they set for the
re-exhibition
online.
Yeah.
Yes, it has ended, right? Yes. Okay. And they said that, oh, thereafter, there'll be no room for people raising queries and having it corrected. Now, the same arrangements that allowed a criminal in Pusiga go into their system and move people from that constituency to another. Those same loopholes exist. So they correct the register today. Nothing stops those criminals from entering that system and making changes all the way up to the 6th of December. Now, when they stole the last election, their focus was primarily on the presidential. Another was determined that he would have a second term. And he don't mind walking over dead bodies to get to a second term and secure, quote unquote, a majority in parliament. To my friends in the NDC, I say, I can't understand how you manage to give up your majority so weakly and quickly. Now, what confidence do you inspire in people to go and queue up in the sun for you if you can so quickly abandon them? Can you imagine what would have happened in this country? If 8 people, known supporters of the MPP, had been shot, killed in the course of an NDC victory. But these persons were shot on the orders of the president. He inserted the military. And it's like nothing has happened. Today they always remind us that, when they went on those let my vote count things, somebody lost his eye.
Yes.
Yeah. They are quick to remind us. But, and given this history, they believe that, there's nothing they cannot do. What happened in the course of the last registration through their polling station executives, mapping every constituency, knowing the strongholds of the opposition, and knowing activists and likely voters. What they simply did was to move people around. And to this day, I don't understand why the NDC has simply stayed with raising numbers and not providing faces, people, to the figures. So we say that, there are X number of people whose votes have been moved. Who are they? So let people know who these people are. And see whether if that information becomes public, the nation can just move on, like it appears to have moved on. It beats my imagination. So what you're going to have happen is that it may be difficult to steal a presidential election, but they will have a majority in parliament through the gerrymandering. And this one doesn't require you to go and attempt to run with a ballot box. Just a district officer with a click of a mouse can move people around. And this can happen in every district. And they've populated the system with their activists. You can imagine what is happening. So the chaos that will happen on election day, now what will happen is that it will almost be a bloodless thing, because individuals will go and look for their names. They'll move from polling station A to B and C and D, like in my case. There are about 4 polling
They did it to me. They did it to me. Me, since 92, I vote at Engelbert. 2020, I got to Engelbert, I couldn't find my name. I had to go around polling stations before I found my name at Jack and Jill 2. So if you live in Salaga and you have to go to your polling station with a canoe and they tell you your name is not there, like Doc is saying, they move you around. So essentially, they haven't disenfranchised you. That is what we were talking about.
So on election day, you have many people quietly going from here to there to there to there to check, not finding their names, will quietly go home. And that will be sufficient to swing many swing seats, or seats where the margins were close. And that mechanism is still in place. That mechanism is still in place. When they talk about the million ways of winning, oh, there are many. So I am not so confident that come 7th January 2025, John Mahama will be inaugurated president, or that he will have a working majority. There are people who really ought to be up and doing. I mean, going back to the last conversation about our Supreme Court talking about chaos, and the intolerance that we have a period of 3 months where some people will not be represented in Parliament. I mean, these characters were there when the people of South went for 4 years, right? Yeah. Of course, they are not citizens. So, I mean, sometimes you wonder. I think that they better be up and doing. That they have to raise their game. Let people know what it is that has been done. Put names and faces to the figures. And let's see whether this town will be this quiet. People can still go about confidently asking for peace. I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. David Percy. Concluding the discussion on the issues of preparations for the elections, we've got 20 more minutes to go. So what I'll do is I'll go around 5 minutes each on the matter of the Moody's and Fitch upgrades. I'll start once again with you, Prof. Moody's and Fitch upgrades.
Okay.
Yes. Prof.
Well, I mean, I saw in the news that Moody and Fitch had upgraded Ghana's economic standing. And I saw that government officials and our friends in MPP were jubilating over this, claiming that it's a sign that the economy has started responding to some of their interventions and policies, and that might give Ghanaians a sense that they can be trusted with power. First of all, I mean, it's ironic that those who got us to the very base of things jubilate when somebody says that, oh, it looks like you have improved a little bit. I mean, if you are that capable and you are that competent and you have what it takes to transform the economy and improve the lives of Ghanaians, then we shouldn't have even gone to the base in the first place. We shouldn't have, I mean, experienced the kind of economic malaise we are experiencing. We should have rather seen an improvement from where they took off in 2017, where under the leadership of John Mahama, the country was before they took off. But as we know from, I mean, everything that is happening in this country, they have taken us back several. I mean, the most commonly cited example, CD to dollar, for instance. 4 cedis to $1. Now it's getting to 17 cedis to $1. So here is my comment on, since you say it's only 5 minutes, here is my comment on the Moody's upgrade, which is very simple. How has that changed the price of things in our markets? Moody has upgraded you. It says that your economy is bouncing back. That's fine. But has that changed Kinky from being 5 cedis back to where it was in the Pest West? Has that changed what the price of a bag of rice is? Has that changed the price of tomato, a bucket of tomato? Has that changed the price of any other thing? The real economy for which people will be deciding in 2016 is in their pockets. The real economy is not in some international, rating here and there. Those things are languages to investor communities who are looking for places to put their money. But the people who cast their votes, the Ghanaian people who cast their votes, people who have lost their jobs because businesses have closed down. I can count several, small-scale businesses that have closed down between 2017 and now. And you know, when we say businesses closed down, the image it evokes is that, oh, somebody just closed his shop. But think about the people who were working there before. And think about the families that depend on them. And think about what they will go through. So one person may have lost a job, but maybe a family of 10 have basically been pushed into abject poverty. Within the last 7 years, the middle class in this country that was gradually building up, that was becoming a bit buoyant, has become a very precarious middle class. People wonder why they are quiet. They are quiet because clearly they have all fallen flat, and they are basically on one more press to get into, to get below the so-called middle class line. The people who were mobilizing and they were demonstrating during your mama's time, they've forgotten that the man they were demonstrating against is also the man who had created a favorable economic environment for them to have done better and even have the governance environment to go out there and express their displeasures. Now you have another government that has basically sapped out every energy in you in terms of your economic wealth. And what am I talking about? Your haircuts, people who have invested in government instruments. What we have been told when we were students in sixth form economics, was that the safest instruments to put your money in were government bonds and all kinds of government instruments, right? Today in Ghana, we have been made to realize that if you put your money into any government instrument, you will be told somewhere along the line that the government itself has mismanaged the tax money. It doesn't have enough money now, so it's coming for yours. And that is what we have done with the so-called debt.
And of course, thank you, Prof. You have, sorry, but 5 minutes each. Well,
5 minutes came so quick.
let me just go to the key rating drivers. This is key rating.
Alhaji and Alhaji haircut.
Well, Fitch has been explaining exactly why they've decided to do the upgrade. The first one is Eurobond exchange concluded. Since Ghana has successfully concluded a debt exchange for its 15 outstanding non-performing Eurobonds, including the IDA partially guaranteed notes. So this has to do with, then it's continues. The second one is significant reduction in terms. So, in exchange for the 15 outstanding euro bonds with a total face value of 13.1 billion, investors were offered a set of new bonds with 2 options. And then the third one is substantial debt relief. The Eurobond exchange entails a reduction in Ghana's FC debt stock, including PDIs of around 6% of estimated 2024 GDP. FC debt service is reduced by $3.5 billion over 2024 to 2026. Najib?
When a person wakes up in the morning and touch your pocket and realize there's no money to buy water in the morning, you don't need Fitch to come and tell you the economy is doing well. When your child is sick and you send him or her to the hospital and realize that you don't have momo or any cash in you to pay for anything, and that your national health insurance cannot save you, you wouldn't need Fitch to come and tell you the economy is not doing well. Okay? When you buy your prepaid, and in less than 3 days to 4 days, it runs faster than Usain Bolt, and you have to go and buy again, you wouldn't need to read Fitch report. In fact, last week I was here to tell you that these reports mean very little to some of us, especially where I'm coming from. Listen, Fitch, like Prof has said, is only doing this to engender confidence in people with capital to come and exploit us more and take and repatriate, their profits away. That is what it is. All these neoliberal instruments that are being used, to parade information and misinformation mean very little to people like us. So December 7th is going to be about how you feel, the pangs of hunger when you wake up, you and your family. What you feel within you is what will tell you where to go and vote. Fitch is doing their work. We can appreciate that. Okay? But for majority of the working class people in this country, this report means very little or absolutely nothing to them. What means or what matters to them is the daily routines that they go through, the struggles they have to go through to keep up with themselves and their family. That is what matters. As for economy, as Kufuor puts it rightly, economy is in your pocket. You don't need anybody to tell you are hungry when you are hungry. That is where I leave it.
Thank you. This is Papa Bisu in Accra, who says ex-party motion against Speaker. That's without Speaker or his reps in court. The Supreme Court can't treat the Speaker of Parliament on Parliament as an ordinary entity because it would then go against the Constitution, which has already indicated separation of powers that were taught in school, unless, of course, we should all start schooling again from nursery. Total confusion than Nana Baumia. This needs positive defiance against the ruling. Where was the Supreme Court in the case of no reps for Santro Kofi, Akpafo, Lolobi, and Likpe in Parliament all this? Yes, very okay.
Let me. Who was the person who just sent that text message?
Yeah, Papa Bisu.
Yeah, Papa Bisu. Let me explain something to you that you may not know. There was a motion on notice. It came up in the speaker when the speaker was when the speaker ruled, and there has been an established convention between the speaker and the Chief Justice that service to the speaker must be done on Mondays. The speaker said it. I didn't say it. So what was it that made them not be able to wait until Monday to deliver service to the speaker? For which reason, within less than 24 hours, the Chief Justice could empanel justices to sit and injunct the speaker. Hey, anyway, let me go to Moody's and Fitch. You see, Moody's, they should come and check our mood. Moody's, come and check our mood. When the white man says tittle tattle, do you know what it means? See me, I went to Achimota school. Me to go for Akpan. Tittle tattle. Semporo. And Semfunu na mo kekakekachire, you know. I have lost 25 years of savings. Have I recovered it? because of what Moody's have written. This government is not paying its bills. So they are telling us inflation has gone down. If you are not paying your bills, how will inflation not go down? The bills have been rescheduled. You see, when they tell you they have completed this, they have completed that, it's like rescheduling execution. It will happen. You will have to pay. Somebody will pay. Come and tell us, Fitch, this, Moody's, that, this, that. The Moody's for no. They should come and check our mood. Has it changed the price at which we buy Wachi? Eh? When I live here, I have to go and buy my anti-Muni Wachi. Is it going to change the price at which I buy it? Because of what Fitch said. Who the hell is Fitch? Oh, anti-Muni Wachi, me, I'm a regular. So when I get there, even when I get there, I don't have money. It is done. You know, I'm a member. Yes. When we talk about hardship in this country, then you get people talking about semantics, useless tattle, say, you know, Moody's.
Different types of hardship.
Yes. Like I said, the president with the pomposity of a dog tick come to tell us he has turned the economy around.
In his pocket.
Oh, you're serious. Yes, serious. But you see, it's self-Ghanaians' right. Anytime the next time somebody comes to tell you, say, why? You people should have allowed the MPP to climb that tree first. Today they've taken everybody's bank account. Is it only my bank account that they took? Today, a former Chief Justice appointed by Akufo-Addo, my own aunt, Auntie Sophia, marches to the finance ministry looking for her pension. Until I give you another proverb. The child that he says he will not let his mother sleep will also not sleep. Let's go on in poverty. Amen.
Doc.
Well, as you just indicated, Fitch and Moody's are merely saying that the Ghanaian economy is in a better shape to render profits and surpluses to those who bring their money in. That is all.
Yeah.
It is not saying that it will improve the well-being of the working people of Ghana. These things are not done for their benefit. You see, it matters what metrics you use and what language you use, what the narrative is. We're talking about an economy that is largely not controlled and owned by us, whose workings benefit in the main external interests. That really ought to be our primary focus. And how is this situation maintained? It's maintained because our politics, our thinking, our mentality, our ideology is by and large controlled by agents of foreign interests. That is the problem. We should be working so that we our economy becomes ours. That we make decisions that work for ourselves and not for others. Basically what Fitch and Moody's are saying is that Ghana is in a better position now to pay Oforiatta's gambling debts. Because that's what they are. You want to play cha-cha with the economy. You went into debt. You stole people's savings to make up for it. On the basis of which they've come to some agreement with the creditors. And it looks like the future is quote unquote brighter for the debt collection. That is all he says. It's got nothing to do with our well-being. But that ought to be our primary focus. So going forward, our key task is to understand how this economy works to impoverish us. How the harder we work, the poorer we get. And to deal with those the root of those issues. But of course, if your frame of reference is the interest of foreign capital, then yes. What Modi says, moving you from junk to CCC, will be a cause for celebration. What would you do? Is it champagne?
The drowning man seeing a straw and being happy. That's what we are doing.
So I think that we should not be distracted. That the task that Nkrumah placed on the national agenda, taking charge of our affairs, is still the most pressing and most urgent. And our leaders, our parties, our politicians should be working full tilt in that direction for the achievement of those goals. That is what should spare us.
Doc, thank you. Thank you.
And please, before we go, I know you have been doing Tenoforiata things. Today, your audience is massive, and incidentally, most of your audience is coming from outside the country. A lot of people who are going to troop in to vote. So let me say a big hello to my daughter Tara. She's watching you from the United Kingdom.
Good morning to her.
Very beautiful daughter. But she's married.
Well, like Doc said, the Moody's and the Fitch ratings, if you read it carefully, what they are telling you is that this has nothing to do with you. That's right. This is about the capital markets, where we go to lend, where we go to borrow. So essentially, they are telling Mr. Chumbuafo that if he has some more money, he should start considering giving it back to government.
The best place to store money is under your bed.
Like Cecilia Dapa.
Under your do Cecilia Dapa, Uni Wadopa, Fashion. Because even the ministers are teaching us the way. Yes. If they had put all that money in the bank by now, she would have lost it. I'm not trying to tell you anything bad, Master. The only thing you need to be worried about is the armed robbers.
Great.
So buy kafumbe and put it by your bed. Sleep with one eye open. Just make sure your money is under your bed. If you don't put it in the bank, you know, in my case, I was told by the bank that Tenoforiata said they shouldn't release treasury bills. What is the convention when you put treasury bills in your account? It's a call account. Yes. The reason why we do it is that I can call it at any time. And the only thing I suffer is interest penalties. That is the plan. Do you think that we would have bought treasury bills if we had been told that you are going to have a minister like Enofuyata who will decide that Wakobo Kenti Wafa Usika de Tiaka? You people, you think we are stupid. You will account for everything you've done. All of you. Criminals.
Well, that brings us close to today's show. A happy birthday to my good friend Harry Hammond in the prison service, and of course to Azamati Tamakluya. I also understand today is the birthday of Madam Marietta Bro, who is former Attorney General of the Republic. Happy birthday to you. And a good morning to Mr. Aziz in Tamale. Yes, I came back from Tamale with Fugu because of you. Thank you.
You didn't wish Madam Eslo a happy birthday.
When is her birthday?
It's her birthday today. Today
Oh,
she's celebrating her 60th birthday.
Happy birthday. Happy 60th birthday
She's
to her.
celebrating it in Tony's Park, live concert in Dansuma.
Okay.
So after I finish eating my watch, I'm going
go
there.
there.
Also,
Okay.
Kosebi.
That's very close to me too.
We are going to dance.
Happy 60th birthday too.
Because in some time to come, she would have been flying from radio to radio station to radio station on her broomstick, drinking Red Bull. Now she's having party. So we will go some. Free for all.
I'm Sana Numbo from the team here at Pan African Television. We wish you a lovely weekend, and of course thanks for listening to us live on Radio Gold 90.5 FM, and of course on many other affiliate stations across the country. We are back same time next week to another edition of the show. Until then, enjoy the rest of your weekend and have a fruitful week.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer.